Hi, welcome to another Creator Hangout with Kickstarter. Hi. This is a weekly series of live Q&As with creators from our community here at Kickstarter. My name is Anya. I am the Games Outreach Lead here at Kickstarter. Today we're talking with Thomas Brush.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Thomas is the creator of Pinstripe, which recently funded on Kickstarter. He created every aspect of the game, including the coding and the music and all of the fun things involved in Pinstripe. You may know Thomas from his very popular game, Coma. So we're very excited to talk to you today.
I'm excited to talk to you, Anya. Thanks.
So we are going to be taking questions live here on Google Plus and Twitter via @KickstarterTips. I always never know if you're supposed to say like or the symbol, whatever it is. But while we're waiting for some questions to come in, I'm going to get us started with a couple questions of my own. So first, I wanted to see, Thomas, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, give us some background information, how did you get into games, and also maybe you want to show off George the dog.
Yeah, I'll start with the best.
Awesome.
This is Georgie, and he is not the main character, but one of the main characters in Pinstripe. Say hi, George. He's a schnoodle. He's a schnauzer and a poodle mix, and he's a wreck. And I have to hold on to him so that he doesn't bark at the mailman, which I didn't know dogs actually do that, but George does that. So
Has he ever chased the mailman?
He would if I let him, but I have to pretty much hold him 24/7. And now that I work from home, he's pretty much with me all the time. But he's also in the game all the time, so he's everywhere. But anyway, my name's Thomas Brush. And my voice is kind of choppy right now. I just got over the flu, so excuse that. But yeah, I'm 25 years old, and I quit my job 3 weeks ago. Thank you, Kickstarter. I quit my job. I'm doing my dream now, working from home, spending countless hours at this point obsessing and making Pinstripe perfect. And I'm still in my hometown of Greenville, South Carolina, and I love it here. And so I'm just kind of like wondering when I'm going to wake up. You know, it's a really amazing dream come true.
That's so awesome. That I think you are definitely one of the, I hate to use the term success stories, but in a way, a bit of a success story for us, which is always really exciting.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'd say that I feel successful, but I feel kind of lucky because I had like the Kickstarter campaign was not really my Kickstarter campaign because I just think about all the people who helped me. And obviously I reached out to about a dozen or so successful Kickstarter people, like William Dubé, I think that's how you say his last name, from Jotun, and Joe Russ of Jenny LeClue, and he raised about $100,000 as well. And like those people were like crucial prior to me launching the Kickstarter. So like me being a success story it's much better to say that we were a success story. Kickstarter as a whole, as a team, as a community, was successful, and I was kind of just in the spotlight.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to know a little bit about your background, just in terms of like your background with games. How have you been involved in games? What's sort of your history in the game space? Okay.
Well, I was involved in the glory days of Flash games, which you were as well.
DickmanGames.com.
Yeah, and those were the days. And there's a lot of nostalgia about those days because making games was a lot simpler. Obviously, it wasn't as like rewarding. I mean, if you spend 5 years making a game now, like I think I'm actually almost at 5 years. I said in the video it was 4 years, but almost 5 years. If you spend 5 years on a game, on like a Flash game in the old days, you wouldn't make that much money because you're just making money off of ads. But now it's a lot harder to make games, but when you release a game, you can actually sell it for money. So in that sense, now is a great market, but I do look back fondly on the Flash glory days, and so that's where I started. I started making Flash animations, putting them on newgrounds.com, and it was the funniest feeling. You're like a freshman in high school, and you release a short little animation, and you have like tens of thousands of people watching this thing and like commenting on like, what's the meaning of this? And it's so poetic and you're so amazing. So you feel really good about yourself. So I got kind of a high off of making Flash animations. And I did that because it was fun. I just learned how to do Flash animation through middle school and high school just because it was fun. And I like to say that during those times, my best friend was my computer because, we hung out all summer, just like I'm doing now, but making artwork. And what's funny is I ended up going from Flash animation into game development. And I made Coma as a senior in high school. And, it's a funny thing. The moment you get a taste of like success or like something going viral, you can't stop. It just feels so good to know that your work is influencing your community. I didn't know that was possible until I released Coma, and I said to myself, I'm going to do whatever it takes to do this again. So I made a game called Skinny, and Skinny was okay. It was kind of a little bit of a flop, but that's kind of what happens when you have a sophomore release. So I expected it. And so Pinstripe is like my big attempt at doing a big project. That's kind of the history. I mean, there's a lot that I've skimmed over, but I just learned to make games because I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it sounds like Pinstripe is sort of like the Pet Sounds record from Beach Boys?
Yes, it's funny you brought that up. Pet Sounds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Pet Sounds is my favorite album.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Pet Sounds from Beach Boys, and then also an album from Circa Survive. And Pet Sounds is such a funny and wonderful record because, it's all Brian Wilson's vision, but Brian Wilson, he was on the record, but he like sang a little bit. But what was so wonderful about Brian is he knew how to step back, and say, hey, this is actually my band's work and the audience's work, and not my own work. And so he obsessed about it, but he made it for the fans. He was willing to collaborate with people. So I want to learn from Brian Wilson in a lot of ways, because not only was he an obsessive, like individualistic artist, which is sometimes I identify with, he also learned how to work with other people. And so me being able to work with the Kickstarter community, listening to their input and their advice, getting involved with them, I'm excited to do that. I've never done it before. But I know that they have like an amazing voice, and I know that they've supported me in the most incredible, generous way. So I'm willing to sit back and listen to people if they have comments or advice. So that's my segue into Pet Sounds. I wanted to talk about Pet Sounds.
Oh, well, this is like so serendipitous.
Yeah, I love Pet Sounds. Great album.
That's amazing. There's so many questions that I want to ask you, and there's so much to touch on. And I think two of the really sort of big things that I definitely wanted to ask you about, and I mean, we could have a conversation for hours about this, I feel like, but I think this sense of community that you've brought up is really kind of key, not only for Kickstarter, but for you in particular. I think one of the things kind of watching, the 30-day campaign for Pinstripe, being sort of a background person watching everything and being a backer myself. Yeah, of course. I think the engagement that you had with your community, specifically through Twitter, was really kind of unbelievable and one of the best ways that I've seen, just in terms of like talking to the community. So I'm wondering if maybe you could talk a little bit about that process of engaging with the community, specifically through social media channels. Is there anything that you kind of learned, maybe for other potential creators out there that are interested in doing a Kickstarter campaign? What are some of the tactics that you kind of learned with social media? Yeah,
so I feel a little bit guilty talking about it right now because I've kind of gone dark for a little while. It's like the moment the Kickstarter ended, I was like, okay, I want to work. And so I just worked for like more than full time. Last week and the week prior, just constantly working. And I felt like I needed to hit the ground running. But for the social media engagement, during the campaign, the most important thing I would do is when I would wake up, I would post something on social media, and I would sit back and kind of I would go for a walk, or I'd maybe just sit in a chair and just think, what if I was a backer or someone who was potentially going to back the project, what would I want to see? What would I want to hear about? So, it was a learning process, because at the beginning, I think I updated people way too much, and everyone was like, whoa, don't give us so many updates. Just give us, a couple. And I was like, okay. And somebody actually wrote an article about it on Google. If you Google Pinstripe Kickstarter, one of the very first articles that comes up is Thomas Brush goes for backer update record. And it was about how I gave too many updates. And I was like, I didn't need to do that. I'm not trying to spam you. I just didn't know. It's all a learning process.
Yeah.
So after learning about that, I would sit back and think about, what does somebody want to see on Twitter? And obviously they want to see the standard, industry standards, which are animated GIFs. They want to see, they want the hashtags, they want bit.ly links, they want really pretty graphics. I gave all that, but I also wanted to personalize it. And so getting people involved in the project was really important as well. But asking for a backer's opinion is going to result in a tweet from them. Rather than saying, hey, look how cool I am. You say, hey, what do you think? And they're much more willing to engage. And that engagement results in more traffic, because there's a link in the tweet. So one of the Twitter sort of campaigns I did was heaven is a place where blank, and people would fill in the blank about what they thought heaven was. Heaven is a place where dreams come true.
That was really cool. And
it's funny because it kind of invaded Twitter with 100, 200 Twitter links and images to the project. So I'm just really gracious that people are willing to even express their opinion about what they think heaven looks like. But even more so, being willing to share the project. So it was a really symbiotic relationship between Twitter followers, backers, and myself.
That's awesome. So kind of piggybacking off of that. So just a quick reminder, you guys. So we are taking questions live here on Google Plus and Twitter via @Kickstarter Tips. We did actually have a couple of questions come in, so I'm gonna quickly ask those.
Cool.
Jessica would like to know. Do you have, there we go, sorry. Do you have a character in Pinstripe that was your favorite to make? Maybe they were fun to make, or you identify or connect with them?
Yeah, so in the trailer of Pinstripe, the character that you're helping save is your wife. And I realized after some testing with some alpha testers across the world, this was last year, nobody cared about the wife. For some reason, she gets kidnapped into hell and nobody cares. So I was like, what is going on here? And it's my fault. I didn't make it clear enough that she was actually even kidnapped. There was a train wreck, and that was that. So I said, okay, I need to really brainstorm here. How do I make a sympathetic character? So what I did was I said, well, what's the most sympathetic, character you could think of, Thomas? And what I thought of was a 3-year-old little girl, a little daughter. And so Bo, and that's the cutest name to me, Bo, she's my favorite character because I feel so much for Bo. And if I as a creator don't feel something for my characters, no one's going to feel it with me. How do I expect my players to? So Bo is actually loosely based on my niece. My niece is about 2 or 3 years old. I don't know, maybe 3 years. I recorded some of her voice and everything because it's just for me, who's the last person you want to see go to hell? A little 3-year-old girl, my niece. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that because I feel something for that, and I want to spend 2-3 hours playing a game rescuing something like that, as opposed to a pretty static, bland character like the wife was.
That's awesome. Breaking my heart a little bit.
Good. That's the point.
There you go. Success. Yeah. Jessica, thank you so much for asking.
Thank you, Jessica.
We have, let's see, Jose wants to know, oh gosh, this is a great question. What are your thoughts on interactive storytelling?
Mm-hmm.
Is this something you are considering with Pinstripe? And if yes, what tools are you planning to use for this purpose?
So I'm going to pretend I know exactly what the question entails. It's a big question. It's a really big question.
Yeah.
First off, interactive storytelling should be what a game is, in my opinion. I don't really care for games that aren't interactive stories. I guess that's kind of a blanket statement. Like Angry Birds is not an interactive story, but I feel like it should be. It'd be really nice if it was. It'd make me more interested. So my point is that Pinstripe is an interactive story, and the tools. I don't know really if the tools is the right way to put it, but the means by which I've made it an interactive story is constant focus on the story itself. And it's really weird because like when you're making a game and you have a limited amount of time. So for the past 4 years, I've only had 3 hours a day to make this game in addition to my full-time job. So when you're saying, okay, I've got 3 hours to work on my game today, do I want to focus on the story or actually getting things done? And that's how it seems on the surface. And so you choose not to focus on the story because you want to get the game done. Whereas now I can actually really focus on the story. So I'd say the biggest tool for interactive storytelling is time and patience. That's my cliche sort of statement, which is you've got to be willing to spend time on the story. If you're not going to sit down and just think, like sometimes it feels like such a waste of time to just go lay out in the grass and think. But I can't tell you how many times I've done that in the past couple of weeks, just thinking about this story and how do I make it connect with the players. So I hope that answers your question. It's a really great question, though.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jose, for your question. So we have another question from Andrew. Hey, have you decided on your bonus weapon in the game yet?
Yeah, so I haven't decided on the bonus weapon, but I'm thinking a Tommy gun. And or a rocket launcher, I don't know. But what the biggest challenge with making that happen was this is kind of a little too technical, but for all those game developers out there, Pinstripe is like the main character is a sprite, so he's animated like a flip book with different images. And because of Kickstarter, because I have more time, because I have more funds, I decided I'm going to switch over from animated sprites to an actual skeleton. And with an actual skeleton, I could switch out as many weapons as I want to make because I don't have to create a new sprite every time I change his gun. I can change his outfit. I can give the dog a sweater. I can do all sorts of fun little cute, interesting things. So no, I haven't decided on the weapon yet, but I do know that it could be more than one weapon, or it could be a lot of different things that I can do now to upgrade your character. Now, I don't want to suffer from Kickstarter bloat, which is when you add too much to your game that people don't really care about. So I think if anything, I know I'm going to do another weapon, but if there's other stuff that I add, it's just going to be cute, fun stuff. Like I really want the dog to wear like a sweater or something like that, or that you can buy. Not actually with money. I don't really care for in-app purchases, but like, if you collect 20 gems, you can get your dog a cute little Mexican sweater or something. I don't know.
So no cute Tommy gun. Is what I'm doing.
No cute Tommy gun, no. So yeah, I'm not sure at the moment.
Okay, cool. So we have another question from Omega Wild. This is a fun one. Okay. Do you have performers in mind for the voicing, or can people audition? And if so, how?
Okay, so this has been like the #1 question in the whole entire world. I can't give any specifics about people I've already hired.
Okay.
But I could tell you one thing. I could say that you're going to love this one person, and everybody on the planet knows this guy or girl. And it's so cool because it was like, how in the world did I get this person to do, and he or she is doing a little bit of cameo voiceover. So it's not like they're a main character, but it's just so cool. Like, how in the world they just reached out and they said, hey, I'd love to do this. And they did it. They did it in like a week. So yeah, I've got several people that are pretty high profile. But I think for the main characters, something that I'm realizing for the main characters, I do want to do like pretty solid, professional, well practiced voiceover people, because part of the reason why I never wanted to do voiceover in the first place was because I'm worried that it would cause some problems with the immersion of the game. You know, Legend of Zelda is like one of the most immersive games on the planet, and there's no voiceover. So I want to make sure that whatever voiceover I choose, it doesn't interfere with anything. And, you know, it can't be too funny and it can't be too serious. It's got to be really natural. So yeah, great question though. That's a really good question.
That's awesome. Guys, a quick reminder again, we are taking live questions, Google Plus at Kickstarter Tips. I don't know why I keep doing this. It just feels right, you know?
Yeah. I think we all do it in our minds.
Right, exactly. I'm just, you know, that's my own interactive storytelling, I guess. So I actually have a question for you that I personally have been really interested in asking. Okay. So you've talked about confidence really being a huge part of your success, particularly with funding. Okay. And I think fear and sort of just, I don't want to say lack of confidence, but truthfully lack of confidence, which is based in fear. Yeah. I think it's really common in all creative processes, particularly with games, where you can really find yourself being isolated in your, not only your creative process, but your development process. I mean, you mentioned you quit your job, you work from home. It's a solo project. It can feel a little siloed. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about sort of getting over that fear, kind of into like building that confidence, false confidence, true confidence, whatever it is. Yeah. And just kind of how necessary it is. And what do you define as confidence in a creative space?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that last sentence is like something I want to focus on, which is, what was it again? How do you define confidence
in a creative space?
In a creative space.
Yeah.
I think confidence is being willing to make something that you know might not succeed. It's really hard to, when your salary is dependent on your creative work, it's really hard to be creative, because you wake up in the morning and you start working and you say, I'm going to make sure that I do what everybody wants, so that they'll give me their money. And that's not what creative work should ever be about. You know, even if creativity is about, you know, in the end goal, you need to make money, you need to pay the bills. You know, I've got a family, I've got a dog, I've got medical bills, blah, blah, blah. And I've got to figure out a way to continually make money to support my family. Confidence in creativity, in the final like say as to whether you are confident with your creative work is whether you can do what you truly feel is in your heart, regardless of what you think the outcome is going to be. I feel like I've done that for the past 4 years. I've made something, like, literally, seriously, like it's hard to really like think about this now, because I feel very confident now that everything's kind of worked out. But for the past 4 years, I had zero confidence that anything was going to happen with Pinstripe. Like, I was like, if I can make like $4,000, that's fine. I just want to do it. I need to do this, because if I don't do it, I'll hate myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, confidence is being what's more valuable than money? And I think it's like time. Yeah. And when you think about, like, am I willing to spend every waking hour on something that nobody has assured me of, that only I can kind of feel like it might do well, but you don't really know. I think that's confidence, being willing to spend your time. I remember last year I was in transition from, me and my wife were in transition from moving from like a small little rental house, and we actually purchased a home. And I was at my parents' house, and like, being at your parents' house, you kind of just think in retrospect. And I realized that I had started Pinstripe in my parents' house. And 3-4 years later, I don't even know if it was 3 or 4 years, I was in the same bed in my same upstairs bedroom at my parents' house. And I got this like panic of like, oh my gosh, I've been wasting so much time on this stupid game. Because, you know, it's working through the evenings, it's working in the mornings and through lunch. And, you know, you get married and you have a wife and you have a life. And you're choosing to spend 4 years on a project that you don't know what's going to happen. So, yeah, I think confidence is being willing to, one, follow your heart, and two, spend time. Time is hard. Time is really hard to spend. When you can watch Netflix, or you can, you know, drink beer with your friends, or, you know, have a hobby like sports or something, or watch ESPN, that's a pretty big sacrifice. And a lot of people aren't willing to make that. And you don't have to. You don't have to do that. But if you have something in your heart, then you should probably do that first and see what happens.
I think that's a great answer.
Cool.
It sounds like
I love that question.
Oh, cool.
That's
awesome.
That's something I think about daily. You know, do I want to be? I want to be fearless, and that question racks my brain every day. It's kind of easy to be brave right now because I've had Kickstarter support. You know, I've got money in the bank to be able to pay the bills, and I can be confident now. So I need to make sure that I'm always pushing outside the bounds of my comfort to make sure that I'm growing. So I always want to challenge myself to scary things. Yeah.
It sounds like this idea of confidence, sacrifice, and commitment are all sort of rolled into one.
They are. It's an ingredient to being an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. If you're not willing to do that, it's okay if you're not. We're not all wired the same. But if you feel that way, then you probably need to go try and do something great.
Absolutely. So this question just came in from Trevor, which I think is definitely interesting. So he says, personally, as a storyteller who is interested in bringing a project to Kickstarter, probably a graphic novel, could you give some advice as to where I should begin, in reference to beginning a story and also to starting a successful project on Kickstarter?
Yeah, so the first stage that you need to be really focused on is, do you feel something about your project? First off, that's a really great question, because it's something that a lot of people don't really understand how to do with projects, is how to properly start them. I didn't properly start Pinstripe. I didn't feel anything for it. I just knew I needed to make something, so I made this game about hell. I feel something for it now, so I kind of did it in reverse. But the first step with any project is you got to feel something really strongly about it, because if you don't have that strong feeling for your project, you're not gonna do it in a week. You're gonna quit. How many projects have we all quit? And it's because we don't feel something about it. You know? It's a lot like a marriage. If you're not gonna, you can feel infatuated for a couple weeks, but you've got to actually stick it through. And if you're not, you've got to have these deep, almost spiritual traits about why you're pursuing what you're pursuing. So your graphic novel, you've got to feel something deep for that thing. It's got to be something that's really a part of you. The second stage is prototyping, at least in my opinion. If you write a couple chapters and you share it with your friends and they don't care about it, maybe you need to go and rewrite it. At the same time, it could be that your friends suck. I don't know. I don't know, but just kind of spread it around, see what people think. If they have a general interest, then maybe you should keep going. But the reason I say that is not true for all creative work, but it's true for Kickstarter, because you have to get Kickstarter involved. You have to get the community involved. And if the community doesn't feel something for if your small community around you doesn't feel anything for you, there's a good chance that the Kickstarter community is just not going to resonate with them. And that's not Kickstarter's fault. That's project creators' fault. They need to make sure that they're making something that the Kickstarter community really resonates with. So those are the first two things I would do for getting started. So you've got feeling something for your project, you've got prototyping, and then you've got to make sure that your Kickstarter page looks good. I'm kind of just spitfiring right now, but that's huge. I mean, you've got to know, and a lot of people they're not graphic designers, and that's totally fine. Most people are not graphic designers, but go find a graphic designer friend, go find somebody who actually knows how to lay out content, and make it look amazing, really make it look amazing. So those
Absolutely.
are 3 things. Yeah.
I think those are perfect tips.
Cool.
That's an absolutely wonderful response. So we're at about half an hour, which I think unfortunately our time is about up. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much for all your questions. They were absolutely wonderful. You've helped me a lot. And most importantly, thank you, Thomas, for taking the time today to chat with us.
Yeah.
This was really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate my backers. You've made my dream come true for sure. And those questions were really fun. I was hoping we'd get some cool ones, and those are really really deep and challenging questions to answer. So thank you, everybody, for asking those, and thank you, Anya.
Close enough. It's fine. Yep. Cool. Well, thank you so much. And then Thomas, you and I are actually going to be meeting in person for the first time in a week, so I'm very excited.
It's gonna be really fun.
Cool. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.